The story begins with a teenage boy named Sid, who has a crush on a girl named Angie in his school. Sid's friend Tiger encourages him to go and talk to her. Following his friend's advice, Sid shows off his skateboarding skills in front of Angie to get her attention. However, he collides with a pile of trash and falls in embarrassment. Angie offers her hand to help him up, and Sid gets mesmerized by her beauty. Since Angie is new in town, Sid proposes her to go out with him to explore the city. Angie agrees and asks for Sid's phone number. Unfortunately, Sid doesn't own a phone. To save him from another embarrassment, Tiger intervenes just in time and explains that Sid broke his phone in a heated argument with his former Russian girlfriend. As Sid was making moves on Angie, troublemaker Virgil watches him from a distance, as he also has a crush on Angie. After returning home, Sid asks his mother for his birthday gift money in advance because he needs to buy a phone. However, his mother can only give him €30, which is not enough to buy a phone. Later, Sid goes to his job where his boss, Fritz, scolds him for being late. Then after a while, when Sid asks Fritz for his €50 salary, Fritz gives him €100, which makes Sid very happy. However, upon flipping the note, he realizes it's fake. Following this, Sid goes to a pawn shop and asks the shopkeeper to show him phones within his budget of €30. The shopkeeper shows him several phones, but none of them catches Sid's eye due to his tight budget. Then the shopkeeper brings out a red color mysterious phone from a room with devil-like horns on it. Sid is instantly drawn to this unique phone and buys it for €30. However, when he tries to turn the phone on, it doesn't work at all. Sid demands his money back from the shopkeeper, but suddenly, the phone comes to life and clicks a picture of Sid. Seeing this, the shopkeeper tries to snatch the phone back, but Sid manages to escape from the shop. He goes straight to his school, where Angie is sitting with her friends Margot and Clemens. Sid shows Angie his new phone, but Clemens starts making fun of it. Just then, Sid's phone automatically snaps a shot of Clemens. Later in the chemistry class, Sid and Tiger get into a fight with David due to David making fun of Tiger's mom, who is a former stripper. After a while, Sid's phone in his bag automatically dials Margot, and as soon as she answers it, she becomes hypnotized and sets fire to Clemens's hair. Clemens, being seemingly oblivious to the flames, mentions that she is feeling hot today. The teacher rushes to Clemens and extinguishes the fire with a piece of cloth. Following the events, Margot is taken to the principal's office, where she explains that she received a call, but she couldn't remember what happened after answering it. The principal doesn't pay much attention to Margot's story and gives her a final warning before letting her go. On the other side, Sid is at home practicing a conversation while imagining Angie, unaware that his phone has actually dialed her. Angie listens in on everything he says, but Sid, to cover up the embarrassment, quickly tells her that he was simply rehearsing for an acting competition. After ending the call, he notices that there is also a call history with Margot. The next day at school, Sid confides in Tiger, sharing the peculiar events involving his phone calling Angie and Margot on its own. However, Tiger dismisses it, suggesting that Sid might have accidentally pressed a button. Just then, the math teacher flicks a piece of chalk at Sid's head, asking him a math question. Sid is clueless, but suddenly, Sid's phone starts displaying the answer. Sid glances at his phone and confidently provides the answer to the teacher. However, the teacher thinks that Sid is using a calculator in his phone, and tosses his phone out of the classroom window. Sid rushes outside the classroom to retrieve his phone and is relieved to find it working perfectly. Sid and Tiger are both baffled by how the phone knew the answer in advance. Then in the evening, the phone calls the math teacher, and when he answers the call, he suddenly starts vomiting chalk. The following morning, Sid wakes up to the tune of the Happy Birthday song. His phone is wishing him in a hologram format. Sid is completely taken aback by this and shares this event with Tiger. He points out that he never even added his birthday to the phone. Tiger becomes concerned upon hearing this and advises Sid to get rid of the phone. However, Sid adamantly refuses to do so, emphasizing how the phone has consistently proven beneficial to him. Then, Sid decides to use the phone to get his suspension from school lifted, which he had received for the fight in the chemistry class. Suddenly, the phone dials the principal's assistant, and to Sid's surprise, the assistant mistakes Sid for the principal. Seizing the opportunity, Sid has his punishment revoked, leaving Tiger astonished by the phone's powers. Afterward, the two friends use the phone's abilities to acquire a lot of free items from the pawn shop, and Sid even books a trip to Cuba. Sid and Tiger are delighted with the phone's power, and Sid decides to name it Hellphone. After a fun night at the strip club, Tiger asks Sid if he can borrow Hellphone for a few days to help reunite his parents. Sid agrees and hands Hellphone over to Tiger. However, as soon as Tiger holds the phone in his hand, it suddenly turns off and stops working. Angrily, Tiger puts the phone into a glass of water before storming off. Sid immediately retrieves the phone from the water, relieved to see it turning on. The next day at school, Virgil shames Tiger by putting up a derogatory poster of Tiger's mother outside the school. Just then, a thief on a motorcycle snatches Angie's iPod and tries to flee. Sid and Virgil begin chasing the thief, with Sid on his skateboard and Virgil in his car. Suddenly Hellphone calls Franklin, who is sitting next to Virgil. As soon as he answers the call, he becomes hypnotized and steers the wheel to crash into the wall. Meanwhile, Sid and Angie manage to catch the thief at a red light and hand him over to the police. Angie expresses her gratitude to Sid for his help, and Sid invites her for a dinner. However, Angie declines, explaining that she needs to study for the history test. The following day, Tiger confronts Sid at school, sharing the news that Virgil has been seriously injured in an accident caused by Hellphone and urges Sid to get rid of the phone. Sid refuses, reasoning that no one has died. He then uses Hellphone to call the history teacher and gets all the test questions in advance, as he plans to help Angie cheat on the history test. After a while, Virgil and his friends corner Sid and beats him up because Sid has been making advances toward Angie lately. Just then, Hellphone calls Virgil, but Sid shoves the phone away from Virgil's grasp because this might lead to some serious injury to Virgil, which Sid doesn't want. Then Clemens arrives in the room and reveals that Sid is going to help the whole class cheat on the history test. Upon hearing this, Virgil and his friends back down as he has now become useful to them. Following the plan, Sid helps the entire class cheat during the history test. Grateful for Sid's help, Angie invites him to join her for lunch during the break. This gesture angers Virgil and he begins to insult Sid in front of everyone, revealing that Sid's father left his mother for another woman. Sid, infuriated by Virgil's comments, abruptly leaves the table and instructs Hellphone to call Virgil. As soon as Virgil answers the call, he becomes completely hypnotized and embarrasses himself by dancing naked in front of the entire cafeteria. Virgil's friends try to stop him, but Virgil pulls Franklin into a kiss. Seeing Virgil's bizarre behavior, Angie leaves the scene. Sid follows her and approaches her, asking her out on a date. To his delight, Angie agrees and shares her phone number with him. Sid returns home, gets ready for his date with Angie, and finds his mother reading a letter. Upon asking, she reveals that she has won a holiday package for Cuba in a lottery. Unbeknownst to her, Sid orchestrated the entire thing with the help of Hellphone to make his mother happy. While leaving for his date, Sid's mother asks him about his job, which infuriates Sid, and he starts cursing his boss Fritz. Hellphone listens to this and calls Fritz. Upon answering the phone, Fritz becomes hypnotized and puts his face into the deep fryer, horrifying everyone. Sid arrives at Angie's house to take her on their date and picks her up in a supercar, which in reality, belongs to Virgil's father, and Sid has obtained it with the help of Hellphone. Meanwhile, Virgil and his friends speculate that someone is hypnotizing people through phone calls and making them do strange and bizarre things. Just then, Sid drives past them in his borrowed car with Angie, leaving Virgil utterly bewildered as he watches them pass by in his father's car. While Sid and Angie are enjoying a movie in the theater, Sid suddenly recalls leaving his phone in the car. As he steps outside to retrieve it, Virgil and his friends corner him, accusing Sid of stealing Virgil's father's car and punch him in the face before driving away. Sid returns to the theater, where he confesses the truth to Angie, explaining that the car isn't his but has been borrowed from Virgil's father to impress her. However, Angie doesn't seem to care about it and ridicules him for wearing a suit. Admittedly, Sid removes his suit, and they both get comfortable with each other. In the car, Sid's phone starts ringing, and when Franklin answers it, he becomes hypnotized and jumps out of the moving car in the middle of the highway, leading to a fatal accident involving a truck. Meanwhile, as Sid and Angie exit the movie theater, the police arrest them due to accusations from Virgil and David, who claim that Sid is hypnotizing people through phone calls, which they believe resulted in Franklin's tragic death. While the chief is questioning Sid and Angie, Hellphone calls the chief, and upon answering, the chief becomes hypnotized as well. He returns Hellphone to Sid and lets them go. While leaving the police station, Sid also hears the news of Fritz burning his face and realizes the danger posed by Hellphone. He confronts Hellphone, asking for the reason behind its causing harm to people. Hellphone responds, "Because I love you, Sid." Shocked by this response, Sid rushes to his friend Tiger's house, only to discover that Tiger's mother has returned to her previous job as a stripper due to Hellphone's influence. She attempts to seduce Sid and climbs on top of him. Just then, Tiger comes out of his room and upon seeing this, he punches Sid in the face. Sid flees from the house and tries to destroy Hellphone on his own but fails miserably. Finally, Sid's mind crosses an idea and he drops the phone into a deep pit before returning home. On the other side, Virgil, David, Margot, and Clements arrive at Angie's house and explain to her that Sid is causing harm to people through his phone and is responsible for all the strange occurrences, including Virgil's naked dancing and Franklin's death. However, Angie defends Sid, explaining that it wasn't his fault and that she herself has seen the phone making calls on its own. Meanwhile, while Sid is asleep at his house, construction workers knock on his door, having come to return Sid's phone which they retrieved from the pit. Just then, Tiger also arrives at Sid's house, and together they decide to confront the situation. Suddenly Hellphone rings, and Sid answers it in frustration, saying that he doesn't love Hellphone and wants it to leave him alone. Hellphone responds by saying that it knows Angie is manipulating him to bring them together and that she must die. The phone rings at Angie's house, and Clements answers it, pretending to be hypnotized. However, she was just joking and it's Angie's mother on the line, instructing Angie to turn off the gas in the kitchen. Just then Margot's phone rings too, and she answers it. She then hands over the phone to Virgil, claiming her mom wants to talk to him. She then grabs the knives from the kitchen and stabs herself multiple times under the phone's influence. Virgil also gets hypnotized by the phone and splashes the boiling resin on Clemence's face. David knocks out Virgil, but Margot's phone rings again, and this time, Angie's dog picks it up and attacks David. On the other side, Sid and Tiger are on their way to Angie's house to save her. Upon arriving, they see Angie fighting with her mom and knock her mom out with their skateboards. Angie tearfully explains that all of her friends are dead, and together, they decide to destroy the phone using a hydraulic press in the garage. However, Virgil tries to stop them and attempts to kill them. He attacks Sid with a chainsaw, but it accidentally lands on an electric socket, electrocuting and killing him. They then place the phone into the hydraulic press, crushing it into a cube. However, just seconds later, the phone miraculously starts returning to its original shape. Sid takes it and brings it to the school's chemistry lab to freeze the phone in the nitrogen tank. However, Hellphone dials all the students present in the classroom simultaneously. As one girl answers the call, Angie knocks her out, threatening everyone against answering the call. Just then, the hypnotized principal enters the classroom and forcefully presses his phone to the teacher's ear, causing the teacher to become hypnotized and drink acid. Then they notice that a horde of hypnotized students are rushing towards the chemistry lab and lock all the doors. Angie quickly grabs the nitrogen tank and drops the phone inside. However, the principal snatches the tank from her and takes the phone out before it can freeze. Just then, the horde of students successfully breaks into the classroom and wrestles for the phone. Tiger somehow manages to retrieve the phone, but before he can drop it into the tank, a student places his cell phone against Tiger's ear. Despite this, Tiger successfully drops the phone into the tank, and in a matter of seconds, Hellphone freezes completely, breaking the hypnotic spell on all the students. Sid asks Tiger how he remained unhypnotized by the phone. Tiger reveals that he had already inserted earplugs, which prevented him from being hypnotized. They then travel to the middle of the ocean on a ship, disposing of the tank containing Hellphone into the sea. Finally, Sid and Angie confess their love with a kiss, and with that scene, the movie comes to an end. Subscribing to the channel will make my day better. See you in the next video. Till then, take care and goodbye.